HOA told me to clear my junk, so I dumped all the clutter on their front lawn. Have you ever wondered what happens when a neighborhood's self-appointed rulers push a homeowner too far? It started with a single letter, crisp and official, slipped into Maya's mailbox like a ticking time bomb. The Harmony Hills Homeowners Association, HOA, demanded she remove all unsightly clutter from her front yard within 48 hours or face a $500 fine. Maya, a single mom and freelance artist, stared at the notice, her blood boiling. Her yard wasn't a junkyard, it was her sanctuary. A mosaic of colorful planters, a quirky metal sculpture she'd welded herself, and a small bench where her daughter, Lila, loved to read. Clutter? This was her life, her art, her home. But to Karen, the HOA president with a clipboard and a vendetta, it was an eyesore that threatened the neighborhood's pristine aesthetic. Maya had moved to Harmony Hills 2 years ago, seeking a fresh start after a messy divorce. The quiet cul-de-sac seemed perfect for her and Lila, but the HOA's iron grip quickly became a nightmare. Karen, a peroxide blonde perfectionist who patrolled the streets like a hawk, had singled Maya out from day one. It started with nitpicky complaints. Maya's mailbox was too rustic, her hedges were uneven, her wind chimes were disruptive. Maya complied at first, trimming bushes and swapping out decorations, but each concession only emboldened Karen further. This latest letter, though, was a declaration of war. Maya wasn't just going to roll over not this time. She spent the evening pacing her living room, the letter crumpled in her fist. Her yard wasn't just a collection of objects. It was a reflection of her soul. The sculpture, forged from scrap metal, symbolized her resilience. The planters, overflowing with wildflowers, were a gift from Lila's school project. Even the bench, weathered and worn, held memories of late-night talks with her daughter under the stars. How dare Karen call it junk? Maya's anger simmered into a plan, one so bold it made her heart race. If the HOA wanted her clutter gone, she'd give them exactly what they asked for, just not how they expected. The next morning, Maya called her friend Javier, a landscaper with a pickup truck and a mischievous streak. "You sure about this?" he asked, grinning as she explained her idea. "Oh, I'm sure," Maya replied, her eyes glinting with defiance. Together, they loaded her clutter into the truck. The sculpture, the planters, the bench, even the wind chimes that Karen had once called a public nuisance. But Maya didn't stop there. She added a few extra items from her garage: old tires, a broken lawnmower, and a rusty barbecue grill she'd been meaning to scrap. If Karen wanted junk, she'd get it. Under the cover of dawn, Maya and Javier drove to Karen's pristine McMansion. Its lawn so manicured it looked like a golf course. They worked quickly, unloading everything in a chaotic pile right in the middle of Karen's front yard. The sculpture leaned precariously against the grill. The planters spilled dirt onto the grass, and the wind chimes clanged in the morning breeze. As a final touch, Maya taped the HOA's letter to the bench with a note scrawled in red marker. "Cleared my junk, as requested. Enjoy." Then they sped off, laughing so hard they could barely breathe. By 8 a.m., Harmony Hills was in an uproar. Karen's screams echoed down the street as she discovered the mess. Neighbors peeked through curtains, some horrified, others stifling giggles. Karen, in her signature pink tracksuit, stormed to the pile, waving the HOA letter like a battle flag. "This is vandalism," she shrieked, dialing the police. But Maya was ready. She'd spent the previous night researching HOA bylaws and local ordinances. Her clutter wasn't trash, it was her property, temporarily relocated. She'd broken no laws, and she knew it. When the police arrived, Karen was in full meltdown mode, pointing at the pile and demanding Maya's arrest. The officer, a weary veteran named Officer Daniels, surveyed the scene with a raised eyebrow. "Ma'am," he said to Karen, "this is a civil matter, not a crime. You told her to remove her property, and she did. You'll need to take it up with the HOA or a lawyer." Karen's face turned beet red, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Maya, watching from her porch, bit back a smile. Round one was hers. But the battle wasn't over. Karen rallied the HOA board, a group of her loyal followers who shared her obsession with uniformity. They called an emergency meeting, inviting the entire neighborhood to discuss Maya's outrageous behavior. Maya showed up, armed with photos of her yard, receipts for her decorations, and a copy of the HOA bylaws. The room buzzed with tension as Karen took the podium, her voice dripping with indignation. "This woman," she spat, pointing at Maya, "has defiled our community with her reckless stunt. She must be fined, evicted, or both." The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement, others looking uneasy. Then, a new voice cut through the noise. Mrs. Patel, a quiet widow who lived across from Maya, stood up. "I think Maya's yard is beautiful," she said softly. "It's full of life, unlike some of these cookie-cutter lawns. And Karen, you've been harassing her for months. Maybe it's time we rethink who's running this HOA." The room fell silent. Mrs. Patel, usually reserved, had just thrown a grenade into Karen's carefully curated world. Other neighbors began to speak up, sharing their own stories of Karen's overreach. Fines for minor infractions, demands for perfect lawns, even threats over holiday decorations. The tide was turning. Karen, sensing the shift, doubled down. "This is about standards," she insisted. "If we let people like Maya turn our neighborhood into a junkyard, property values will plummet." But Maya was ready. She stepped forward, holding up her phone. "Actually," she said, her voice steady, "I had a realtor assess my property last week. My clutter doesn't hurt its value, it increases it. Unique yards attract buyers who want character, not conformity." She swiped to a photo of her yard in full bloom, vibrant and alive, and passed her phone around. Gasps and nods rippled through the crowd. Karen's argument was crumbling. The meeting ended with a vote to amend the HOA's strict aesthetic rules, spearheaded by Mrs. Patel and supported by a surprising majority. Karen, humiliated, stormed out, her clipboard clattering to the floor. Over the next week, Maya's clutter was returned to her yard, piece by piece, with help from neighbors who now saw it in a new light. Javier even built a small trellis for her wildflowers, free of charge. Karen, meanwhile, faced a backlash. Her fines were audited, revealing inconsistencies, and whispers of a recall election began to circulate. Her reign of terror was unraveling, one complaint at a time. As Maya sat on her bench with Lila one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky, she felt a weight lift. Her yard wasn't just hers again, it was a symbol of something bigger. She'd stood up to a bully, rallied a community, and proved that beauty doesn't need to fit a mold. Karen's lawn, once the neighborhood's gold standard, now looked sterile and soulless in comparison. The wind chimes sang softly, and Lila giggled, sketching a new planter design in her notebook. Maya smiled, knowing they'd won more than a fight, they'd reclaimed their home. What would you do if someone tried to erase what makes your home yours? Share your thoughts. Where do you draw the line between community rules and personal freedom?